result of where you want to be, but just looking, what is the immediate one next thing that I can do to change this? And maybe that's getting dressed and going out and having a coffee somewhere.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be going out and being with hundreds of people necessarily if that's not what you're ready or need to do.
Absolutely. And another thing that I would like to say is that, say, for instance, for those of you who have your act together and are strong, and congrats, but what I'm trying to say is be aware of someone else, because they might be hurting. They might be struggling. And if you can extend a friendship or a kind word or deed to them, listen, it'll make all the difference in all the world. I remember when we were living in a small apartment with the children were small, and it was so much different back then. But my neighbor, she knocked on my door one evening, and she introduced herself, and she says, "I sell Avon." Well, I really knew in my heart that I wasn't going to be unable to buy anything from her, but I welcomed her in my kitchen, and we sat down on the table, and I was just so grateful to have somebody to my age, another female. And she looked at me, and we had a little girl talk, and my husband back then, he was just kind of ignoring us and in the living room watching television, which was fine with me. And I was just like a sponge welcoming this friendship and this caring person.
Right.
And later on, years later, and of course she invited me to church, and one thing led to another. But years later, she told me, "Mary Ann, I didn't really knock at your door to sell your Avon." I said, "You didn't?" She says, "No." She says, "I used to." She lived right next door, and we had paper-thin walls. She said, "I used to hear the times that you cried and the times that you got hit. And I knew that I had to do something." And she would be, with her hand on the wall, saying a prayer, sending a prayer my way, unbeknownst to me. And her husband would even say, "Are you crazy? Get away from that wall. Mind your own business." Listen, I'm so glad that she didn't mind her own business, and she made me my business.
Yeah, and that's, again, just such an important lesson to reach out to other people and be there for other people in ways that you may not even realize it.
Absolutely. It'll make all the difference in the world. And as I've written this book, and I told my story, I have to. When I was younger, I was ashamed of everything. I was ashamed of my upbringing, my heritage, having all this lack. And, I did grow up in poverty, and I didn't say a lot, But as I became older, I thought, you know what, I've come through this for a reason. There has to be some type of, some kind of reason. And so then eventually I thought, my kids need to know some of the things that their mother went through, and just know, because they thought that I was like some kind of superwoman, and that was far from the truth. And so I just started sitting down, and I started writing down some things that I would remember, snapshot images in my mind, or from a photo album, or from stories from my mother or stories from my dad, and just start writing and walk away and come back later and add fillers. And so my husband now, he asked me, he said, "You're writing for your children, aren't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, I am." He says, "Mary," he says, "this is so much more than that." And I says, "Why do you say that?" He says, "Because of a lot of things that you went through, other people need to hear it so that they might be inspired." And I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I thought about it, and I just kept writing. And I thought, he is absolutely right. This is the reason that I went through all of this, so that I can be transparent and I can share my story. Did I do everything right? Was I perfect? No, I wish I was a little bit quicker learner, and got that would have been correct if I had written fiction, But the reality of it is that you go through things, and it is for a reason, and I'm just so grateful that, I say that out of my mess, I did something right, and God has turned my messes into a message.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had 3 takeaways for our listeners in terms of, as you say, overcoming challenges, overcoming obstacles, which we all have faced and will continue to face if we're going to engage in life and be kind of in the trenches living as opposed to sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
What advice or what 3 takeaways would you have to help as we go through all the trials and tribulations of life?
Right. Well, I would hope that my book, Running in Heels, shows that anyone who has made mistakes can still be a person of worth. You don't have to, I believe, you don't have to be a product of your environment. You can rise above the ashes and become stronger than any storm that has tried to knock the wind out of your sail. Your yesterday does not have to define your todays. And secondly, there is help for the helpless and hope for the hopeless. There is forgiveness for the inexcusable. Forgiveness is a choice. You may still remember the offense, but you don't have to carry the pain. Right. You can be bruised but not wounded, scarred but not broken. So I believe that you are not defined by your past. You can overcome your yesterdays. You can walk in wholeness and completeness.
I love that, and I so agree with you and so resonate with that. So where can our listeners find your book, and how can they reach you if they would like to do that?
Right. Well, at the moment you can go online on Amazon, and you can purchase my book there, as well as Barnes & Noble online. There is a paperback, there's the hardcover, and then, of course, there's the Kindle version. And there's also BAM, which is Books A Million. You can purchase my book there, and I really pray you do, and come back and leave reviews. I just love reading the reviews from the fans and you readers. They just make a difference in an author's life. And in getting in touch with me, I am on Facebook. You can go to writer Mary A. Perez and find me on Facebook. And also I'm on Twitter, thanks to my tech-savvy daughter. She got me a Twitter account. So it's twitter.com/Mary's Reflection. And let's see, Pinterest.com/Yellow Rose Forever, the number 4, forever. And then also www.maryaperez.com will take you right into my blog, Reflections from the Heart. I blog once a week. And so I welcome followers. All they have to do is just hit the sign me up button and put in their email address and confirm. Don't forget to confirm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mary, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for taking time out to be with us and share your experiences and your wisdom. So appreciate it. And just wish you everything of the best, and I have no doubt that our paths are going to cross down the road again. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So we are going to take another quick commercial break, and then I will be back to recap the show.
Listen to The Legal Eagle and The Coach each Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. on Tough Talk Radio Network. Leading local and national experts in business will share their keys to success so that our listening audience can be educated, and entertained along the way to becoming all they can be. So whether you're new to business or highly experienced, The Legal Eagle and the Coach with hosts David Alterburn and Brian Kaiser is a great radio program for you. For more information, go to legaleagleandthecoachradio.com.
Attention entrepreneurs, it's time to get real. Real about who you are, where you want to be, and what you're willing to do to get there. To make the leap from just getting by to making real money and making a real difference in this world takes a plan and certain skills. If you are serious about building a business that makes a difference in this world, join Michelle Sism at her Legacy Live event in Houston, Texas, September 10th through the 12th. Learn more at legacyliveevent.com. We will see you there.
Lauren Jawno is an elite, international certified, high-performance coach, author, and speaker with over 15 years' experience helping clients transform so that they are living bolder, happier, and more successful lives. Through a combination of her world-class coaching program and exclusive assessments, her mission is to get to the crux of your issues quickly and accurately, and then guide you to achieve sustained and higher levels of clarity, joy, energy, connection, influence, and overall performance in every area of your life. To learn more or to contact Lauren, go to laurenjawno.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, again, another great experience. I love meeting new people, just hearing their perspectives and their insights. And as always, my question to you at the end of the show is, what are you going to take away and implement in your life to create something different? Because without taking action, nothing is going to change. So I'd love to know what your takeaways are from the show. I know for me it was, Karlton's message of to never stop believing and to keep pursuing what inspires you. At 45, he is heading for the Olympics in 2016 and for nationals in a few weeks' time. And Mary's message of resiliency and that, your past doesn't define who you are today, and that all rise above and through the challenges that we have in our life. So, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to change to move you closer to what you want? As we wrap up today's show, remember that you can connect with me either on Facebook at facebook.com/Lauren Jawno, or you can email me directly at lauren@laurenjawno.com. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, please just go to lifeissueswithlaurenjawno.com, where you can fill out a registration form and get on the schedule for the show. So thanks again for listening in today, and hopefully you will join me next week as we have another incredible lineup of guests. Until then, embrace your inner truth, live your purpose, and make your contribution in the world today.
You've been listening to Life's Issues with Lauren Jawno on the Tough Talk Radio Network. A special thanks to all of our sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a guest, please visit toughtalkradionetwork.com for more information.